Today I take on the biggest project I've ever built in Minecraft. This massive building used thousands of my precious resources and took over 20 hours to build, even with the help of the Schematic cannon. How will I get all of it done in time? Let's create. In the last video I built this liquid storage building, although it's not 100% finished yet. That being said, I have done some work off camera. If we go in the back door here into the little warehouse area, we've got a whole bunch of fluid tanks, and these all link to portable fluid interfaces to these doors, where eventually trucks are going to reverse up, these garage doors are going to automatically open, and the fluids are either going to come in or they're going to go out. But at the moment it's very manual because I don't have any trucks yet. The other thing I've done in this building, except for not doing the interiors, is to put sliding doors on all of the lifts. If I send this lift to another floor, the door outside it now closes so that I can't fall down the lift shaft. But if I press the button, it's going to come back and that sliding door will open. And that means that if I'm on a floor that the lift isn't at, I'm just not going to fall down the lift shaft. And the other thing that I've done in the sub-basement is to finally fill in all of the lava here, so we've got an infinite lava source, which is great because we're going to be using that for all sorts of things. We're also going to be using the thing that isn't on the floor below, which is our infinite diesel source. But at the moment that's just a mob farm because I'm not producing any biodiesel yet. But eventually we'll be able to use that in place of our lava to power our furnaces. And when I say furnaces, what I mean is our boiler steam engine things, which this one is now 100% running off lava instead of blaze cakes. And it's working nicely. The only downside to these sliding doors is that they are a little bit visible from the other side, but as long as you don't look at that, it'll be fine. And that means that that's pretty much it for this building for the time being. There's really not much point in doing anything else here until we're ready to actually start pumping in some biodiesel, which means I can move on to the next project, which is going to be a really big one right over here. But before we get to that, I need to put out a public service announcement. As you'll know if you've watched the last couple of videos, I added Applied Energistics 2 to this mod pack, and that has some people in the comments very concerned. And that's for good reason, because Applied Energistics 2 can do quite a few of the different things that Create can do, such as fluid transfer and item transfer as well, and it can do it in a much more compact way. But I want to just put your minds at ease and tell you I'm not going to be using any of that, or at least I don't intend to use any of that. The only thing I want to use it for is for storage, because storage has been a massive problem on this server from day one, and Create doesn't do anything to help with that. We've been using storage boxes and chests and barrels and backpacks all over the place, and I just want to get it all organized and into one universal system that I can just pull from when I need to. And that'll stop me having things like these piles of chests and rubbish every time I do a build job anywhere or anytime I go adventuring, and it'll stop me having to have 5 different backpacks that I'm always wearing and carrying with me for all of the building things that I need. I'll just be able to have all of my things in one place, nice and conveniently, which will enable me to progress in this Let's Play a whole bunch better and a whole bunch more efficiently. And that's the focus of today's video, and it's probably going to take more than one video to complete, but I need to completely wipe out this little hill area here and build a big old system that's going to be handling all of those Applied Energistics 2 and storage needs. And this building's going to be a big one. It's going to go from this corner here to that corner over there, to that corner over there, to that corner over there, which is quite a substantial area. And that's just the actual building. I'm going to have a car park and loading area and all sorts of stuff outside of that as well. And it all needs to be the same level, and it needs to be the same level as what we're working with over there, so that we don't have issues with our trucks or our trains getting over there. And this is all at Y158, which means I need to bring up this entire area a few blocks, as well as drop this down quite a few blocks. And this point here just happens to be the same level. So everything below this needs to come up, and everything above this needs to come down. I've got a lot of work ahead of me before I can even think about building. Well, that's that bit flattened, which admittedly isn't all that much compared to the rest of it. And bringing the rest of it up is probably going to cost me more in these nuggets of experience than anything else. Well, probably dirt as well, but there is another option instead of just bringing everything upwards. And that is to dig it out lower down and then just fill in a roof over the top. Because in most of the things I've built, I've needed room for basement, for things like storage, vehicles that use train tracks underground, and even some farms and item transportation. So it might make sense to actually dig out lower down and then just put a roof on it. That makes sense, right? So digging down 12 blocks. That's 10 blocks for my mining machine and then 2 for the top layer. And the reason I want 2 for the top layer is in case I want to put gravel anywhere. I don't want it falling through. All I then need to do is throw down my mining machine and then just dig out a big old basement. And is this full already? Please don't tell. Oh, no, it's not full. It's nowhere near full, mate. And to make this go a little bit quicker, I've replaced the redstone blocks with redstone torches because they were the things that were taking ages to break. And now this can whiz across the land and demolish many. If you're enjoying this video, then consider hitting that subscribe button. It only takes a second and it really helps me out. Well, it seems to have got full again, but that's okay, because it's on the final strip we're doing for now, and we've dug out a whole lot. And as soon as it gets to this point here, I'm going to stop it, empty it all out into that vault again. Perfect. Thank you. Jeez, look at all this stuff. And I'm full of cobble, so I can't even pick the cobble up. I can get the coal. Jeez, it was full for a while. I didn't realize how full it was, but going all the way back across here, all of the items have just been spewing out onto the floor. It's really the coal that I want, because that is very useful. Ow. Stop it. Oh no, phantoms are back. It wasn't me. I think it might be a good idea for me to go and have a sleep. Just empty all of this junk onto the floor in this factory here. No one would ever know, and I'm sure the cleaner will be round soon to sort all that out. Yeah. Oh, I've got an owl in me. An owl? Yeah, I've got an owl in me. Okay, let's just get rid of these floating trees quickly. Let's get rid of that. That one can stay, but there's going to be ground under that soon. Oh, jeez, and all the mobs are still here. Of course they are. In which case, before I empty this thing out, it might be a good idea to start putting some torches down. That should do it. That's a lot of torches. And now I just want to get all of the items out of there that are actually going to be useful for my backpack. As all of these other items go in. And the next layer, mini. And all of the good stuff's coming out here. Fantastic. And that's those ones done. And now the top set of chests. And this thing is nearly full. So we might have to empty out a few more things from this. What if we say filter out anything but cobblestone and dirt? Because I really don't think we're going to need anything else in there. So now we've got a big old hole, a storage container full of dirt and cobble. And I'm going to need a lot of that dirt and probably a lot of that cobble, because now what I got to do is fill all of this in, although I am tempted to do one more line under here. Do I really want to do it all over again? Yes, I do. Oh, jeez. Why do you do this to yourself? I don't know. Something wrong with me. Well, I'm getting right near the end here, and I need to be a little bit careful that I don't go into my infinite lava supply, because oh no, we've got a bit of space before then. That's okay. I've done some more torches by crafting them with all the coal that this thing got. Told you it'd be convenient. And that should do it. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Ah! But I need sleep. Oh, the cleaner's bin. Took all my stuff from before. Here, have some more cleaner. Keeping you busy. One more floaty tree to get rid of. Yeah, and a handful more torches, which is quite difficult to place with all these creepers and skeletons. Oh, jeez. There we go. A big old area for a very big basement. Now I just need to put a lid on it and get all of the items out of that contraption again into this, which is already full. So, one last time. Oh, it's full. It's too full. And because that got so full, I've had to add that one, and now I'm just thinking I'll just shove it all in storage drawers. It's going to take a while. That's a lot of cobble, and that's a lot of dirt. Jeez, at least I can have all this back now. I'll just shove those in there for now. And then I'm going to hop back to Hill Valley, head over to my crushing wheel, and throw in a ridiculous amount of iron ore that we got. There we go. Oh, hang on a minute. I can do that faster. No, wait. If I turn that all into blocks, it goes a whole bunch quicker. And now I can stand on this item drain, get rid of all of these extra levels I don't need, and fill up my experience bin tank thing. Now I can head back over to the new area and finally fill in the top 2 layers of this thing. After filling in all of these holes, of course. Now, there's a couple of ways that I can do this. I think the first thing I should do is craft up as much stone brick as possible, grab my construction wand, and then make a line at this level all the way across the entire thing just with stone brick, because this will be our basement ceiling. Oh, are you decorating it? Well, I might as well have the roof not too ugly, I guess. It was this or cobblestone. And I think it's going to cost me a lot more of this than I was expecting. because it's pretty much 2 stacks just from one side to the other for one line. That's going to be a lot of stacks of this. So there's something I can do about that, and that is to grab all of this cobble, take it down to the mine, attach it to our storage drawer supply, turn my smelting machine back on to turn it all into stone, and then modify this slightly to turn it all into stone brick. So these will just sit and make me stone bricks for a while, and that means that when I run out, I can come back here and grab a whole bunch more. And this area is force chunk loaded, so this should run without me being here, which means I can come back to this and slowly fill in the entire thing with stone brick. Have I really run out already? Oh no, this could take a while. I've crafted up 19,000 of them. This should hopefully get me a reasonable way across here. I've got to keep my eye on that durability of this one now, though. Oh, well, I nearly crafted up enough. That is all of the stuff I just crafted. That's a big old area of stone brick. And hopefully when I pop down here, we should have a few more to go with. Yes, we've got another 2,000 there. Excellent. And that's all of the stone brick filled in now. Oh, almost. Got to do this corner. Which means it's time for dirt. So same thing. Just run a line of it along here like this. Hopefully it doesn't turn into grass while I'm doing it, otherwise that's going to upset my construction one. A lot of this I'm going to have to delete in future anyway as I start building these roads out, but it's fine, it's just temporary. And I can do the same thing. And there we go. We now have a very flat platform. Of course, the edges are all going to need sorting out as we bring it further in this direction and then we take it over in that direction. But for now, we've got a good area to start building with. And that's used a whole bunch of my dirt. But fortunately, we did get 65,000 earlier on. And there we go, we're all topped up again. So now we've got a big old basement to be playing with if we need it, and a big old area up here to build our building. Now I've marked out a couple of areas on here. We've got the stone corners there, which is going to be the actual corners for this building, and then this mud corners here, they're going to be the corners for the yard for this place. But it's not just going to be a big old square like that one over there. It's going to be a really big old square. Well, this might look a little bit odd, and that's because it is. The design I'm thinking out is a hexagonal mess, and the idea here is that that section in the middle there would be where our main AE2 brain would be, and then above this would have some layers with server racks and things like that. All of these little rooms and bits around the outside would be where we've got all of the components being manufactured and stuff, and I think it might work. The only problem is the angle. Obviously, if we're going to have angular rooms like this, it's not really going to set itself up for actually having components and machines and things in there, so it could be a bit of an awkward one to actually work in. But I kind of like the design and I kind of like the layout, and I've got an idea for a multi-layered, multi-story version of it, but it's going to use an awful lot of quartz. Now, fortunately for me in my backpack, I've got a whole bunch here. I've also got another 30,000 of it here, and if we head on back over to Hill Valley, I've got 2.7 million of it here, and that's because of my original gold farm, which is currently no longer chunk loaded because it was just producing way too much quartz, but it's in this factory, through here, up these stairs, and it still works very, very well, producing an absolute ridiculous amount of quartz and gold, so I'm definitely not going to run out. The other thing this build is going to cost me an absolute ton of is framed blocks, and that's because each of these diagonal bits is not going to be all square. It's going to be using these framed slopes in order to give us nice smooth sides on the angles, and that's going to be on the inside as well, so it's going to cost me a fortune. But fortunately, again, we've got an absolute ton of wood in here, and this time heading back over to our snowy area, we did have an absolutely ridiculous amount in here. I don't know whether it still is. Oh yes, we've still got plenty in here. So I'm going to grab an absolute ton of whatever I've got most of, which is probably cherry wood, and then go and craft up an absolutely ridiculous amount of those framed slopes. And because this building is going to be probably one of the biggest, most complicated buildings that I've built on this series, I'm not just going to do a time lapse of me just completing the whole thing in one go. I'm going to do it bit by bit and talk my way through it, because I've got some pretty exciting ideas as we go through this. First of all, though, I'm just going to chuck down a bunch of torches over here, put myself a little sleeping bag down so I can sleep when it gets dark, and then get out all of my useful tables so that I can craft whatever I need. And I imagine a couple of junk chests over here are going to be useful as well. There we go. I'm prepared. You don't seem prepared. No, I don't feel it either. Now, one thing I want to try is this powered framing saw. I believe this will automatically craft certain frame blocks for me without me having to really do much. But this does actually need proper power, like the AE2 stuff. And I'm kind of hoping this vibration chamber from Applied Applied Energistics 2 is going to help me power it, but I don't know if it will. The idea here being I can just put coal in there. That's going to generate AE, and that does nothing for this. But I do have an energy acceptor, so maybe if I put that next to that and put that in there, it does nothing. Okay, put it on top of there. Nothing. Put it on top of there. Nope. What about putting a connector on it? No. In that case, then, I'm wondering if I can plug this in over here at the factory. Not a factory, the liquid storage building yet, that one. Using another alternator. See, that's got FE, and possibly I can just sit that next to it. I can. There we go. So I wonder, can I just put logs in there and target that? Doesn't matter. Okay. Don't tell me I got to craft all of these up already by hand. Can I not just put wood in there? No. Oh, great. In that case, then I better craft up as many of these frame blocks. Frame cubes. Yeah, frame cubes as possible. But if I'm doing this, it kind of takes away the point of using the automatic thing because, well, it's really easy just to craft those straight into those. Now, I'm kind of hoping that I can fill those in there from a barrel with a hopper and just leave it running. It looks like I can. And then can I get them out again with another one? Yes, I can. Oh, well, at least that's something. So I'm going to leave that running over there while I go and start building this building. And at least I know over time that's going to fill up and I can keep coming back here to restock. Okay, there's the bottom layer in place now, but there's a problem with this design that I've discovered, and that is that with this foundation layer here, which has got the deep slate on the outside and the quartz on the inside, it's fine when we got the diagonals like this, but when we get to a flat section, being able to actually decorate the inside would mean actually bringing these out another block on each side, significantly reducing the amount of space I've got in each of these rooms, which is a problem. Now, yes, potentially I could use framed blocks there like that in order to save a little bit of space, and while that would work, I can't then place a block there, although I could, if I got rid of one, put one there if I needed to, so I guess I can save space that way, but it's not really ideal. Realistically, this is only going to be an issue for the first layer, because all of the other layers above this, until we get a little bit higher up at least, are going to be using these quartz block on the inside and the outside just because it's a whole bunch easier. So yeah, I think I'll use these wall boards for now to disguise the bottom layer on the inside, which means putting a whole bunch more frame blocks down and a whole bunch more quartz. So let me talk you through my idea here. This is going to be like the entrance building, and inside of here it's going to have things. I'm not sure what things yet, but there are going to be things in it. Well, duh. And you're going to come through this corridor here, and there's actually going to be walls there and there with doorways in them, leading to rooms around the outside, which is where we're going to be producing our AE stuff. Continuing through, we get to a hallway which goes all the way around the outside and has access on each one of these exit points, and right in the middle we've got our place where basically the brain of the system. But then you'll notice we've got these walls which are quite thick and hollow, and the reason for that is I want to have plenty of places to be able to run cables and pipes throughout the insides of this building, whereas I don't really need that on the outside, so they can be a lot closer together. Now, it is probably a little bit overkill here because we've got a lot of space, but don't forget everything works in squares, so in order to get pipes to run down here like this, I'm going to need a fair bit of space, although I could probably make it a little bit thinner, which I might do actually. I might bring all of this bit in, one more block, and that still gives me plenty of space on the inside of here, but it gives me a whole bunch more room in these rooms on the outside as well. And there we go, that's those little bits sorted out there, making the side rooms a little bit bigger. So why have I done it all just one layer? Of course, this thing's going to be relatively tall. Well, I can either use the construction one to bring all of the layers up one at a time. Is that going to work with the frame blocks? No, of course it's not. Or the other thing I can do is just take a schematic of the whole thing and then just print all of the different layers with the schematic cannon, which is probably what I'm going to do. Other questions you might be asking. Other questions you might be asking are, why have you got all of these little white squares everywhere? Well, they're chunk borders. I want to make sure all of this is chunk aligned, so that I can make the absolute most of the layout and not have to force load too many chunks when this thing's running. Because if this is going to be my universal storage system that I'm going to be able to access anywhere in the world in any dimension, I'm going to need it always loaded. Okay, it's time for the schematic and quill. So I guess I want to go all the way from there. Hopefully it's going to reach all the way over to here. Is that the whole thing? I think it is. Nice. That's a big old area. 5 by 5 chunks. So I know I need to position it, which is not an easy thing to do. Oh, well, that's not right at all, is it? Just about there, I think, should do it. Spot on. Throw that in there. Put in my material checklist. Figure out what I need. Really? Flowers? I don't think I want those. I need way more of those than I've got. But hopefully there's a whole bunch ready over here. Oh, yes. Mini. So with a little bit of gunpowder in there and setting this on to skip missing blocks, which is already on, I can just click go. And hopefully this won't take too long. Although they generally do take a while. But while it's going on, I might as well start filling in the blocks that I know it's going to miss and then texturing the ones that I know I can texture. And there we go. Before too long, that second layer is in now. And I think this needs quite a few more layers. Oh, geez. So it's going to take me a little while. But what if the schematic cannon was more like a machine gun? It builds a whole bunch quicker like this. I mean, personally, I don't understand why they put a delay in it. All you gotta do is go to the mod menu, gameplay settings, schematic cannon, and change the delay, which was on something crazy like 20, to maybe 1. Although I think 5 is more reasonable, which is not quite as machine gun-like. I think it's a little bit less cheaty. Anyway, this time I'm doing 2 layers at once, which means that this structure is going to be done in probably about 3 hours. Well, instead of continuing to texture this, I've just let the schematic cannon build it up. You can see that I've stopped doing these at this level here and continued to those. And this is the last level for the first layer. That's right, I said first layer. What we've got here, this middle section, is going to have some funky stuff going on in between the layers, around about this level here. And then it's going to have another one of these above all of this, and it's going to have some more of those, but in different positions, spun around somewhere else. So there's still a whole bunch of stuff to do, including texturing all of these walls, but at least I'm starting to feel the scale of all of this a little bit now. And the good thing about this is we've got plenty of room for 2 floors in here. But yeah, there's definitely plenty of room for plenty of things in here, although I think it is going to end up being a little bit of a maze on the inside. So I guess what I need to do now is texture all of these untextured blocks, get the roofs on these things, make sure I'm happy with the design, and then do it all over again. Slowly but surely, I feel like I'm getting somewhere. The entire building is now filled in with texture, although it's probably not the final result. As you can see down here, I've attempted to put a window in, and I think we'll probably play with that around the other areas. We've got a red trim on this one, a light blue on this one, a grey one on this one, and a yellow one on that one over there. And it might not look like much, but honestly, it's taken a ridiculously long time to fill in all of those frame blocks. I started this at 9 PM. It is now 11:30 PM, and you can see all of the frame blocks on the inside are textured as well. I haven't got a floor in yet, but I've thrown a few torches around because I accidentally turned this into a massive mob spawner, which isn't ideal. And coming through into the center somehow, somewhere, possibly, if I can figure out how to get round there, the center's just, there's nothing in here at all. And it's very dark towards the ceiling, but the ceiling's not going to be like that. If we come back out to one of these hallways, you'll see there's a few different lines on the wall, and that's going to indicate the floors. So, for instance, and excuse the block palette because that's what I've got on me at the moment, we'd have the bottom floor around about this level here. We'll have that ceiling would be around about that level there. We'll have a 1 block high crawl space, and then the next floor would be around about there. And then that ceiling should technically be there, but I guess it'll have to go there. It's dark. I know it's dark. So we've got room for 2 floors in this building, as well as a whole bunch of pipes and contraptions and stuff in between. And don't forget, these walls are hollow as well, so we've got a whole bunch of room between these for plenty of cabling and stuff to be shimmied around without affecting the look of the building. So my next job is to craft up a whole bunch more frame blocks, a whole bunch more quartz blocks, and basically build all of this all over again on top of that. That said, I am going to have a contraption between the 2 layers to make it look kind of interesting. I've made a mistake. I've made 2 actually. This is not tall enough. It's 2 blocks short, and that's the simplest thing to fix. The other problem is the entire thing is off by 1 block. See, in order to do the next bit in the middle, I need this thing to have a 1 wide middle, but it's got a 2 wide middle, and that's going to make things very difficult. So I'm going to need you to use your imaginations. Imagine this flywheel was much bigger, i.e. the same size as this. And imagine there were 3 of them stacked on top of each other, and imagine they were all rotating in different directions. In order to make them line up with the building, they would all need to be pivoted from the center, and they would probably be rotated with a mechanical bearing. But mechanical bearings sit on on one block. And while you can have 4 together, they don't all work together, which is a big problem. However, I think I've got a solution for that, but first of all, I need to fix this roof problem. And the problem with the roof is that I need crawl spaces. Let's imagine this is the bottom floor. We're going to be stood here. We'll then have the next ceiling at this point here, a crawl space between, and the next floor's going to be there. You've done this once already. Yeah, but there's a problem, because the next ceiling should be here where those blocks are, but it'll have to go there, which means this floor's going to be shorter, and there's no room at all to put pipes and cables and things like that in the ceiling before we get to the roof. So I need this entire thing to go up 2 blocks. And if you're a big fan of the series, then you'll know that's really not a big problem, and it's not going to require any rebuilding at all. All it needs are copious amounts of glue, which is, oh, the area's too big. Oh geez, how big can I make it? Too big to here? Okay, very copious amounts of glue then. And that should be everything for the roof connected. Then all I need to do is stick a sticky piston there with a crank on it, a couple of extension poles coming out the back, and if I wind it down to touch the roof, I can then wind it back up again, and with myself on it. There we go. The entire roof is up 2 blocks. That was easy. But now I've got to fill in those gaps in between, which means I need the cannon back out again. And selecting those 2 layers there should enable me to copy those and just place them up above them. Oh geez, we've got a mob farm in there already. Go away. Stop being a mob farm. Go away. Also, looks like I've done this wall completely wrong compared to the rest of them, but I can fix that later. There we go. That should fill in the gap nicely. Let's put it in the cannon and then check the materials and not get creepered. Apparently, I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? Go away. It's working. So now I just need to untexture this layer below because it's wrong, which is getting more and more difficult with the height that this thing's becoming at. Jeez. And there we go. That's everything for those 2 missing layers added in and complete and textured, which means it's now time to deal with that second problem, which was the spinny things on the roof. But I've got a plan. First of all, I need to mark out the chunk borders and the centers, which I've done. And I don't really need to do that. It's just helpful. And the next thing I need is my narrow gauge andesite track. And I should hopefully be able to make a loop around this thing relatively easily. So if I put a track there and there, and there and there, and there and there, and there and there, I should hopefully be able to make full circles, and they need to be proper circles, and that looks almost circular to me. It's not far off. There are a couple of straight bits, but I can't really avoid that with it being a 2 wide middle, but that looks very circular. Now, whether this will work or not, I've no idea, but I'm going to find out. What works? It, mate. What's it? Okay, so I've got a little proof of concept machine set up here on a little train there. Let's just assemble that, get it into the right spot, and hopefully now, if I drive this around, that's going to stay level with the side of the roof-ish, potentially. Going a bit fast. I mean, it would want to go very slowly, but it's difficult to tell. I need a driver. Come here, driver. I'm a fly. No, you're a driver now, mate. You've got a job. Okay, little fly. Show me if my machine is going to work. Now he's going to go. Hopefully, oh, geez, it's nowhere near big enough, that thing. Not even close. And it's going off the edges in some places and not in others. It kind of sort of worked. No suitable it's right in front of you, you moron. I don't think this is going to work. Okay, fine. It was just an idea. In that case, then, we're just going to embrace a total lack of symmetry and make it look really interesting. That's my plan. It might be weird, but it's going to be okay. What? We don't even know what you're doing. You kind of do. That. But ignoring the industrial iron plating on the inside, basically the big old gold ring that's going to spin round at the top there. And there's going to be 3 layers of it, and the middle one's going to go in the opposite direction, which could look kind of interesting now that this is going to be slightly off center. But that's kind of the look oh, it's weird. It's really weird. Being 1 block off the center really does. Oh, geez. And why are my sides much longer than the... Oh, geez. I don't think I've done my octagon a very good shape. The diagonals are much longer than the flat bits. They're all flat, you know what I mean? Which means this isn't going to work at all. Okay, forget having fancy things going round then. What a waste of time. Are you going to embrace the anti-symmetricalismness of it? Yeah, well, I'm not anymore. Looks stupid, mate. Okay, so I've been playing around with a few things, and as you can see behind me, there's quite a lot going on. We've got some textured redstone lamps that are on a clock, which are lighting up the whole thing, and instead of having this ring spinning round, it's now going up and down in front of the lights, very, very slowly. I wanted some sort of animation to make this feeling feel a little bit alive and give it a little bit of that sort of futuristic vibe, and I think this kind of of does the job. It's kind of what I wanted. I did really want it rotating, but that's not going to work, which means now it's time to take this entire bottom section and build the entire thing again above it. Oh man, and this is going to be a big schematic, a very big schematic. Hopefully it's not going to crash everything out actually making it, but I think I just need it to there. Has that got everything in? It looks like it. Okay, and now all I've got to do is place it and get it in the right position. So I'm going to, whoa, pop it there. Jeez, make sure it's lined up, which it's definitely not at the moment. It's off by a couple of blocks, mate, that's all. There we go. But I kind of want to rotate it as well. I don't want these things being exactly where the other ones are. So let's go to the rotate icon, come down here and hopefully, whoa, there we go. I can just spin the whole thing. That's crazy. That's so cool. So let's get it in a place where it doesn't match the bottom layer. That could be cool. They kind of overlap a little bit, but they're not exactly in line with each other. Yeah, I think that's good. How's this going to look from far, far away? I think it's going to look pretty epic. I can't get high enough up to see it, though. We'll go for it. What's the worst that could happen? Ah, how's there a creeper on my roof? What? A skeleton? I'll clear it. My roof's supposed to be safe. Materials checklist then. How many am I going to need for this? Nearly 6,000 frame slopes. A whole bunch of those which don't actually exist because that's actually these things together, which the game counts as one block, but you can't actually get them as one block, so I can't give it that. It's got enough cut deep slate, so that's good. It needs nearly 3,000 stacked deep slate, 1,000 of the vertical. Oh my goodness me. Oh geez. I'll be back in a minute. Well, aside from a few slabs, which I can't give it, I think everything's in place. And that's a whole lot of materials that we've got to work with. So I think we're good to go. So let's drop in some gunpowder, possibly increase the speed of this so I'm not sat here all day waiting. And then I guess click go. Off it goes. Here we go, guys. We've got a whole new layer coming. Well, that took about 25 minutes with the schematic cannon at full speed. And doing the maths, that means that would have taken over 8.5 hours to do at the normal fire rate. So that's why I speeded up, so that you can get these videos on time and I'm not just sat here for 8 hours doing a time lapse. And clearly there's still a whole bunch to do here. I've got a texture over 5,000 frame blocks. I've got a whole bunch of blocks to replace and change out for the second layer's design. Obviously, the schematic cannon managed to miss a whole bunch of blocks that I wasn't able to give it because they don't really exist, like these ones here. And of course, everything needs floors and ceilings and hallways and windows and all that sort of stuff. So there's a whole bunch to do. So it's going to take me probably about 8.5 hours to get this top layer actually finished off and a few bits inside. So I'm going to take some time, get as much of that done as possible, and I'll be back with you later. 12 hours later. Literally 12 hours later. And it's still nowhere near finished. There's a whole bunch left to do, but as you can see, things are starting to at least take shape from the outside. So let's go in and see what we've got going on. We've got our little entrance hall here, which has got nothing in it. In fact, that's the theme of this entire thing. It's got nothing in it, but it's kind of sort of decorated with the rooms and stuff, and you can see we've got a bunch of colors. In fact, I've used every single color of concrete in this to try and color code things, mainly because the entire thing is a bit of a maze. So by color coding the walls, I've tried to make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on. Around the outside, we've got square rooms, followed by diagonal rooms. This one's got a hole in it because that's going to be where the elevator is, because there's no stairs in here. And the red transitions into orange, and this goes into a square room, and then it goes into another diagonal room, and then that transitions into yellow, and we've also got another section here, which is the yellow section, and so on and so forth all the way around the building. Pretty much all exactly the same around the outside. Some of them have little storagey bits to the side. These were all linked together, but unfortunately, these diagonal sections were too small to make rooms out of, and bear in mind, I've got to use this place to to actually produce things. So I needed to expand them, which means the little storage wally bits have kind of disappeared a bit. At least it has on this layer, because don't forget we've got the inner layer as well. We've got a hallway that goes all the way around this middle bit here, and if we get to the bit where the door is, we've then got these little sections that go round, a little hallway around the entire center of this thing, and then we've got a little bridge that comes out to this thing, which is where the brain of our storage system's going to live. And there's going to be all sorts of wires and stuff pumping down from that. I've put this over a little bit of a pit. I'm going to fill this up with some sort of fluid in the future. I'm not sure what yet. Maybe water, maybe something else. Who knows? I don't know yet. And that's kind of it for this first floor. So let's go up our invisible lift, which doesn't exist yet, and go to the crawl space in the middle, which is 1 block thick, which is a bit of an oversight because I actually can't get in it. Now I could do the trapdoor trick, but I've got nowhere to put a trapdoor to actually get myself to that level, so it's going to be very difficult filling that full of things in the future. So we'll pop up to the next level, which has got the next section of colors, and this has got exactly the same layout of a rectangular room and then a diagonally room, and that goes into another rectangular room, and so on and so forth around the entire building. It does, however, have another middle, and this has got glass going around the entire outside of this, just as a little viewing platform to see what's going on there. Again, this floor is going to be mainly for producing things and having AE2 stuff in here, just producing all the things we're going to need to actually finish this building. So going back to the elevator, we've now got this space, which is the area between both buildings, and this has actually dropped down a couple of layers because I thought there's no point in having a 1 block high crawl space up here. I might as well just extend the entire the elevator. I might as well just extend the entire thing up to the floor of the next one. So let's hop back up this elevator and go onto this level, and guess what? It's exactly the same but color coordinated, with a rectangular room followed by a diagonal room followed by another rectangular room. It's all very, very similar. However, this one's middle is a lot different. There's no center middle. There's no middle bit on this one, just a big old glass box. And this is where all of the servers are going to be kept, because Applied Energistics 2 keeps all of your storage digitally in little drives, and this is where they're all going to live. And this just happens to be straight above the brain in the machine, which lives down there on that level there. So it'll all be very easy to connect. I haven't really done a massive amount in terms of color coordinating this or making it interesting, but we will have some big fans and stuff above this to make it look like it's got cooling and whatnot. But it's been 12 hours and I'm tired. I don't want to do any more building just right now. What I do want to do though is show you the final layer. Would you believe what the final layer's got in it? Where's my elevator gone? Here it is. Oh, I'm not, but I've been doing this all day. Oh, gee. Fine. The final floor has got a rectangular room followed by a diagonal room followed by another rectangular room again, all the way round again. And again, it's got viewing platforms over the server room, and it's got access to these little cubby holes here, which is where we can have wires and electricity and all that sort of stuff coming down. So it's, yeah, interesting is the way I'm going to put this.